Welcome to MAP Oil Tools Mechanical Cement Retainer, or MMR, training video. Today we'll discuss the proper sting-up and operating procedure for running the MMR mechanical set cement retainer. The model MMR tubing set sleeve valve cement retainers are used for secondary cementing operations. These drillable retainers can be configured to set securely in any hardness casing. A ratchet lock ring stores the setting force in the retainer. The one-piece packing element and metal backup rings combine for a superior seal. The case-hardened slips virtually eliminate premature setting, yet can also be easily drilled out. They are available for 4.5-inch through 20-inch casing. In the next section, we will discuss mounting the MMR onto the stinger of the MSR. Before running the retainer into the hole, it must first be mounted on a stinger or setting tool. To begin, place the top collar of the setting tool in the vise and rotate the drag assembly to the right to verify that the control nut is seated against the control nut clutch. Rotate the setting sleeve toward the drag assembly until the upset of the control latch is exposed. Slide the upper slips over the stinger subbody. Loosen the clamp on the slips only enough to slide them over the upset on the control latch, and then retighten the clamp. Rotate the setting sleeve down using a right-hand rotation over the slips until you contact the hose clamp. Remove the hose clamp. Lubricate the non-wicker portion of the slips with grease. Now lightly lubricate the stinger sub and control latch with grease. Slide the cement retainer over the stinger. Make sure that the retainer remains level during this operation. Special care must be taken to ensure that the stinger properly engages the valve collet fingers. Drive the retainer onto the stinger seal until it is in the shoulder of the latch thread. Bump the bottom of the retainer and rotate it to make up the left-hand thread on the latch until the retainer bottoms out on the control latch. Back off the retainer or bridge plug up to 1/2 round to line up the threaded hole to the holes in the control latch. Next, install the shear screw. Be sure to reference the bill of materials for the appropriate size and quantity of shear screws. Now, rotate the setting sleeve until it contacts the wickers of the slips. Back up 1/2 turn and install the set screws in the setting sleeve. Install the hose clamp around the wickers of the upper slips and tighten the clamp for transportation purposes. Be sure to remove the hose clamps from the slips before running in the hole. Double-check that the tool is free of trapped torque by confirming that the drag springs can move freely in either direction. You have now successfully mounted the MMR onto the stinger of the MSR. The tool is now ready to be run into the well. Next, we will discuss the proper running procedure for the MMR. In this section, we will walk you through the correct running procedure for the mechanical set cement retainer, or MMR. To begin, make up the top sub of the running tool to the lower pin end of the work string. Use a good quality API-approved thread lubricant and torque all work string connections to the manufacturer's torque recommendations. During run-in, extreme care should be taken to avoid right-hand rotation being transmitted to the setting tool. Running speed should be kept between 60 and 90 feet per minute. As a precaution, left-hand torque should be placed in the work string every 10 to 15 stands to keep the control nut seated against the control nut clutch. Excessive left-hand rotation or torque may result in unscrewing the top sub. When the desired setting depth has been reached, tools should be picked up 2 feet above the desired setting point. This movement is necessary to provide the required tool stroke to release the cement retainer's upper slips and allow the setting tool control nut to move freely. Rotate the work string to the right in order to transmit 10 turns at the tool. Please note, the rotations on surface may not be equivalent to the rotations at the tool. This rotation will thread the control nut off of the mandrel's mating thread and release the control sleeve and setting sleeve from the controlled position. Lower the tools back down to the desired setting point. The drag springs will support the control sleeve and setting sleeve of the setting tool. The downward motion of the mandrel will move the cement retainer upper slips from under the setting sleeve. The slips are forced outward toward the casing wall by the leaf springs inside of each slip segment. When the slips are released, there is sufficient clearance for the locking dog to move outward and release the control latch from the stinger sub-body. Pull the recommended tension over pipe weight to set the slips and effect full pack-off. Please reference your tech sheet for minimum tension requirements. Set down the equivalent amount of weight and pull tension a second time. Once the tool is set, slight upstrain may be applied to shift the valve closed, at which point the tubing can be tested. An annular test should be conducted to confirm pack-off. If pack-off is not achieved, repeat slack-off and upstrain movements. Release the setting tool from the cement retainer by pulling 500 pounds of tension at the tool and rotating the work string 10 turns to the right. This motion will shear the brass shear screws and unscrew the setting tool control latch from the top of the cement retainer mandrel. The setting tool may be relatched with the cement retainer by setting down 1,000 to 3,000 pounds of work string weight. You can now cement through the retainer by setting down weight to open the valve and pump cement through the retainer. Then, apply upstrain to close the valve. Now you may snap out of the retainer by pulling 5,000 to 8,000 pounds of tension at the tool. The setting tool seal will remain in the cement retainer until the control snap force is exceeded. We all know that well conditions vary. Before running the tool, always be sure to reference your MAP Oil Tools cast iron cement retainer tech sheet. In the next section, we will walk through converting the MMR to a mechanical bridge plug, or MMB. To begin, remove the set screws. For sizes up to 8 5/8 inches, remove the set screws from the guide shoe. Then, unscrew the guide shoe and remove it. For all larger sizes, remove the set screws from the lower flange. Then, remove the lower flange, lower slip, and guide shoe. You can remove the valve by using the stinger sub from the mechanical setting tool. Slide the small end of the stinger sub into the bore of the cement retainer and push it down until it seats in the valve. Use a bar to bump the valve and the stinger sub out of the retainer. Assembly tools are available for purchase that do not require use of the stinger sub. Contact your sales representative for more information. Take care not to damage the valve or stinger sub during the valve removal. If you are converting a wireline retainer to wireline bridge plug, remove the shear stud from the guide. Your wireline bridging plug assembly will include a shear stud. Make sure it is installed in the threaded end of the bridging plug. If the tool will be run mechanically, remove the shear stud from the bridging plug. Grease the bore of the cement retainer guide and the lower end of the bridging plug. Install the bridging plug into the bore of the guide. Align the drive pin in the side of the bridging plug with one of the fluid bypass ports in the side of the guide. Next, press the plug into the bore of the guide. Please note that the thread in the bridging plug must be visible. Turn the guide upside down. If the plug moves or drops out, re-grease the back of the plug and the bore of the guide, and reseat the plug in the guide. When the plug is firmly seated in the guide shoe, make up the guide to the cement retainer mandrel. Then, tighten the guide with a wrench. For sizes smaller than 8 5/8 inches, install the set screws in the guide shoe of the retainer. For larger sizes, replace the lower slip and flange, and reinstall the screws into the flange. You have now successfully converted your cement retainer to a bridge plug. MSR to MSB note. The model MSB mechanical setting tool used to set MAP mechanical set bridge plugs is actually a modified version of the model MSR mechanical setting tool that is used to set MAP sleeve valve cement retainers. The slide valve stinger and seal are removed from the MSR, and a spacer and thread protector are installed on the stinger subbody. A ported coupling replaces the MSR top coupling to allow the tubing to fill with well fluid while running the tool.